Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Any Lengthiness 3724 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole for telling my fiance him going for a late night walk with his co-worker was not okay? My fiance and I have been partners for 3 years and are getting married in June. He works from home 2 to 3 days a week and he goes in on the remaining days. He isn't close with any of his co-workers since I've heard him often complain about how most of his co-workers are much older, except with this girl, who I think joined a few months back. I've heard him say her name a few times, mostly harmless stuff, I guess about how she recommended a show to him or had him try out her lunch. But not gonna lie, sometimes it's a little annoying how much he values her input, because it's a bit out of character. She's also the only co-worker I've heard him talk about random stuff with on his work course. I'm not saying any of this is wrong, but I just want to be honest about the stuff that's been on my mind, because it's possible I might be in the wrong here. He's been gone for a work trip to another branch with some other colleagues of his, including her. Last night I texted him if he was done with dinner and was good to talk. He said he was taking a stroll with her. I froze for like a good couple of seconds, asked who else is there. He said no one. They just decided to take a walk and check the area around the hotel out. I was not okay with this, told him this was crazy disrespectful and called him. He declined my call and texted back saying there's nowhere for him to talk to me in private at the moment, that he'd call me back. I called again. He answered. I told him that this was not okay at all. What was he doing taking a walk so late with her? He just responded breezily because I guess she was so close, and just said I'll call you back when I get back to the hotel. 15 minutes later, he called me and I kinda went off on him. I said he had no business being out this late alone with a woman as someone who's about to be my husband in less than 3 months. He said he was just bored. She was the only person he was cool with and they just went for a walk. That my implication was hurtful to him. I calmed down, said I was sorry but I was just not okay with it. So I'd appreciate if he didn't do anything alone with her for my comfort. He said fine and then said he was planning on going for a post-work lunch with her at one of the places they saw on their walk. I again asked who else and he just said the two of them. I asked him to please invite someone else too. He said they don't vibe with anyone else. We had a bit of a tense back and forth and he relented saying he'd invite someone else too, but it would ruin it and the fact that I couldn't trust him was so disappointing. I tried to explain that it wasn't about the trust, just my peace of mind. But I did a bad job explaining that. Today he responded to my good morning messages very curtly. I know he's angry with me. Was I the arsehole? Some comments with replies says, the first comment says, he took a show recommendation from her and tried the food she had. The fact that you think that's him valuing her input so much says more about you than him. It's incredibly normal to walk around the area after dinner when you're at a work conference. And guess what? Sometimes that means you're with someone of the opposite sex. It's not a big deal. You're the arsehole. Opie said, I said it's out of character because it takes me ages to convince him to watch a show with me that I'm invested in. And I understand I may have overreacted to the stroll. That me being uncomfortable about it may be a me problem. And that's what I wanted to know. Commenter says, has he ever done anything suspicious? I don't think taking her recommendations or walking together at a work conference is enough to accuse him of cheating. Opie says, I didn't mean to accuse him of cheating. I guess that's what I couldn't explain properly. I just had a bad feeling in my gut about the whole thing and decided to voice it. I guess I should have considered it a bit more before doing that, since it seems the comments do think I overreacted. Another commenter says, not the arsehole for telling him you're not okay. Even with what he's told you he's done with this lone co-worker. The only one in the whole team he vibes with. Who knows what he hasn't told you, because you wouldn't understand, etc. He's dropped her name multiple times already. Now he's refusing to engage with you on the phone because he's out enjoying a late night stroll with her. He told you to wait, his fiance, because he wasn't done having a nice walk with another woman. That woman with whom he now has a lunch date planned. Just the two of them, because you know he just doesn't vibe with anyone else there. Trust your gut. Something ain't right. Have an in-depth chat with him when he gets home. And honestly, there is a lot of back and forth comments on this one. Some people saying, he's definitely cheating on her. Other people saying, men and women can go out and they can have a stroll, they can have a walk, and he's being completely open with her about what he's doing. He's not like he's hiding anything. Again, other people saying the whole vibe talk is suspicious in itself. But some point later, OP comes in with the update and says, I'd posted earlier in the day about me getting angry with my fiance for his one-on-one plans with his coworker. The replies made me realize I was in the wrong. So I called him and apologized for overreacting last night. He told me it was all good. I asked if he already asked another coworker to join them for lunch. He hadn't yet. So I told him I was okay with them making plans after work, and he thanked me for it. Full disclosure, my ex was a control freak when it came to me, wanting me to put the phone on speaker whenever I'd be talking to my friends or family, wanting updates every half an hour. And I hated him so much at the end of it, and promised myself I'd never be a controlling partner like that. But it's possible I picked up some wrong norms from that period. My fiance's coworker also put up some photos on Insta of their lunch together and their trip to the lake after. And I realized they're just coworkers who have similar interests. When I posted initially, it was just that in my mind, he'd act out a character when it came to her, acting on show recommendations when he normally doesn't, replying to a text fairly quickly when he normally takes a while. And I just thought that wasn't okay. But I also fully understand that my idea of right and wrong is a bit skewed due to my past, and I'm glad I was made to realize it before I went further down the road and became the kind of partner my ex was to me. Thanks. Commenter says, just because you may have overreacted to a walk doesn't mean the situation is kosher. It just means you need to have a calm conversation with your fiance about what makes you uncomfortable and why. If he knew you were uncomfortable with lunch and grudgingly said it was fine, why would he push it by also going to the lake after? I'm married, and that would bother me if my husband did that after I expressed I was uncomfortable with the relationship. Another commenter says, I personally believe that he is playing you when it comes to her. She's posting pictures of them on their lunch together and going to the lake. No wonder he didn't want anyone having lunch with them. Why would she post pictures of them together at lunch and at a lake if they were just co-workers? She, in my opinion, just threw it in your face. What were her comments when she posted them? Good luck to you. Another commenter says, your gut told you it's weird because it's weird. Next time they have an after-work hangout/happy hour, ask him to invite you. You should do a real-life vibe check. And the comments again after this one were back and forth, but what's your opinion on this one? Do you think there's something suspicious going on or not? We will look out for another update on that one, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Hogwarts Alum 99 and says, my 27 female, boyfriend 30 male of 10 months flipped out when I wouldn't keep my clothes at his place anymore. I'm looking for some advice with my relationship with my boyfriend. I don't know where to start, and I hope this makes sense. I'm disappointed and hurt by my boyfriend's reaction when I approached him about my concerns. Please know I'm not the petty type, nor do I ignore issues or problems. However, I make every attempt at being civil and calm when I do air any concerns. We each have our own place. A few months back, my boyfriend suggested I could keep some of my personal belongings at his house, i.e. a toothbrush, spare undies, 2 pairs, and PJs, long sleeve and pants. It made it easier in the sense that I didn't have to pack those items for when I stayed over. I stayed over every other weekend. However, I've noticed that when I use my PJs or undies, they will stay in the hamper until I sleep over again. The first time we washed our clothes at his place, he said he meant to do them but forgot. I said no problem, but if you don't want to do them, it's not a big deal. I'll just take my clothes home. He said it wasn't and agreed it's kind of gross to keep clothes around for 2 weeks unwashed. Nothing changed after this conversation, and this continued for a few more weeks, except I noticed he wasn't washing his clothes either. Yesterday I became agitated that I was washing both of our dirty clothes every time I'd stay over. My time went from being with him to being with his washer and dryer while he's raiding or gaming with his friends or on his PC. Normally this type of thing wouldn't bother me, but it's 2 weeks worth of clothing plus the PJs and undies I wore the last time I was there. I ended up bringing all my clothes home. As soon as he noticed my clothes were missing, he flipped out. He accused me of leaving him. Not the case at all. I waited until he was done yelling and in a soft, calm voice explained to him that I didn't want to leave my clothes there anymore because they are always dirty and I wanted to clean them. Furthermore, it wasn't fair for him to expect me to wash all his clothes when I'm there. I told him when I come over, I like us to hang out, but find it difficult when I'm washing all his clothes. He went on about having to work all the time. He works 10-hour days, 4 days a week, while I only go to school. I'm in a full-time post-grad program. Then he told me to grow up. He hasn't spoken to me since then. Reddit, I'm at a loss. I really don't need him to wash my clothes. Having them there was supposed to be convenient. Instead, it's frustrating. What's going on? Nah, the dude's pissed off that you're not doing his washing anymore. And what really jumped out to me was how he immediately accused you of leaving him when you just simply took your clothes home. It came across as just incredibly manipulative, and his grow up was clearly just like pure projection. And as always, when we read these stories, it's not about your washing or laundry, it's about respect and consideration of you and how he handles things when you need to have a chat. So my final comment on that one would be, you've only been together for 10 months. Top commenter says, he's mad that you aren't doing his laundry anymore. Dripless Cactus says, you only stay over every other weekend, and he uses that time to hang out with other people in gaming. He might have a point. It's time to grow up and start dating a grown-up who actually respects you. OP edited the post after this and said thanks everyone for all the replies. I still haven't heard from him. I will update as soon as possible. I just can't believe how much this hurts. I don't have any issues with him gaming. In fact, he's got me into playing Fallout 4. Great game, by the way. But unlike him, gaming isn't my only interest and isn't always my idea for quality time. Anyways, I'm turning in for the night. Thanks again. So, around a week or so later, OP updated their post and says, after 3 days of silence, I decided to call it quits. I tried texting him, but he wouldn't respond. Eventually, I called his cell phone and left him a voicemail explaining how deeply hurt I am that he yelled at me and how I feel even worse now that he wouldn't respond to me. I told him I felt that it was important to me to have an open and honest communication between the two of us. And since I have no idea where he is or what is happening, I assume that we are over. I told him I wished him the best and I hope he could find some happiness and ended the call. 3 minutes later, my phone rings. It's him. I pick up and he starts bawling about how sorry he is and he didn't want things to go that far. How all he wanted was to be able to play his games in peace, but realized he also wanted me. He asked me to take him back. I told him that he lost my trust and hurt me over a trivial thing. I told him I need time to think about what I want. He hung up. So it's over. Officially. Part of me is really sad, but I know I'll get over it. Right now, I just want to focus on me, and when I do find someone, they will know how to do their laundry. Thanks, Reddit. Slinky says to OP, you did the right thing. Don't second guess yourself. Someone this explosive, passive-aggressive, and controlling is a poor prospect for a long-term relationship. Good for you for seeing the signs and getting out. The phoning OP 3 minutes later after OP leaving the voicemail just said it all to me. He was sitting there waiting for OP to beg him to come back or something along those lines. And when she didn't, he went for the next tactic to try and beg her to come back. And when she wasn't about that, he just hangs up on her. Back and forth between angry and sorry, like we see in these stories so many times over. But good on OP, like that commenter said, for getting out of that situation. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now on Reddit, you get sayings and flares that pop up from time to time from certain stories. And our next story is the one that created the Iranian yogurt isn't the issue. It's a story that we haven't covered before, but it's a fairly popular story. It's from Duck Fairy from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It doesn't have an update, but It's a story that I've always wanted to read just because I'm curious about what the saying's about. It says, am I the arsehole for throwing away my boyfriend's potentially illegal yogurt collection? I'm a 29 female. My boyfriend is a 30 male. We've been living together for 2 years in a little studio in a very expensive, big US city. My boyfriend grew up rurally, with lots of space, enough to collect all kinds of things. He collected action figures and video games and all the normal kid stuff when he was young, but as he grew older, he became interested in more unusual things. As a teen, he had 8 guinea pigs of different types from different breeders. Since Tide Pods were released 7 years ago, he saved one of every kind of Tide Pod. He's got a big box of international variety of electric insulators, those little ceramic hats that power lines wrap around on power poles. He's not a hoarder. He's usually neat, just used to having a lot of space for his bizarro collections. At his parents' ranch, he has 2 big rooms full of containers of weird and impressive things. He recently became interested in yogurt. He's always hated dairy products until about a year ago. He's not just started drinking milk and sharing ice cream with me, but he's found a love for yogurts. So now he collects them, of course. The problem is that they are perishable. So, until earlier today, our little 550 square foot studio contained about 2,100 cups of yogurt. It comes in tons of varieties, different types, flavors, textures, containers made by different companies in different countries. This is like crack to my boyfriend, so we tried to pretty much save a sample of everything he could find. He filled our fridge, bought a new fridge, and then another tiny bedside fridge. He said he didn't want to walk to the fridge at night, but it was obviously a ruse to get more yogurt space. These fridges all filled up with his yogurts, and if you keep them for long, they smell bad. Sometimes the packaging breaks. So our apartment was smelling like rotten milk for the last 2 weeks. My boyfriend's attitude was, oh, it's fine, and just deal with it for a little longer. Until I pulled the plug and threw it all out this morning. I was looking at my groceries, which I had to put beside the fridge because there was no space, and everything smelled like death. And then I kinda snapped and threw it all away. My boyfriend is understandably upset. We've been arguing about whether I crossed a line by throwing away his stuff. And he's especially upset because he, of course, had rare yogurts that were hard to find. In particular, he had some Cuban and Iranian yogurts that you can't get in the US. But I know that we've had trade sanctions against Iran and Cuba, so I don't know if it was even legal for him to have them. I asked where he got his Iranian yogurt, but he kept insisting the Iranian yogurt is not the issue here, and that the real issue was me throwing out his precious yogurts without his permission. Am I the arsehole here? Do I need r/legal advice? Thanks in advance. I'm so exasperated. And that's as mad as I thought it was going to be. 2,100 cups of yogurt in 550 square feet. That's like nearly 4 cups per square foot of your apartment. And it's finally great to see, where they're saying the Iranian yogurt is not the issue here, because it absolutely isn't. I've seen a lot of programs. I'm not saying it's the case in this, but it comes across, especially with some of the language about nightmare hoarders. I watch a lot of programs like Nightmare Neighbors, Nightmare Hoarders, Nightmare Neighbors in general. I love all that sort of stuff. The drama that goes on brings me back to my youth. But the way OP talks about it in this one, it just sounds like him, trying to sneak in an extra fridge because he doesn't want to walk too far, etc. It sounds like absolutely just sneaking in more storage space, ever so slowly creeping it in. When I was younger, not really related, but I'm going to do it anyway. When I was younger, there was a lady that used to walk up and down a certain street. I'm not going to say the street's name, but she was that street bag lady, and that was her name, and she was well known in, I don't know if the whole of Oxford, but most people that I know knew of her. And she would walk up and down this long street, which was probably about 1.5 miles long, with a trolley, and she would collect whatever she could find, rubbish or trash or whatever it was, and put it in a trolley. And she would just have loads of bags hanging from the trolley at the same time, hence how she got the nickname. And apparently she would take all this stuff back home and put it in her place. And there was rumors of her being pretty well off, having a fairly big house. I can't confirm whether that's true or not, but she would literally fill this house up. She was approached by people to help her, etc., but this is what she did. And I think she continued to do this till her last days. But I always find like hoarding really fascinating when people talk about it and their attachments to certain objects. Like in the programs that I watch, you know, you usually see like emotional attachment. A lot of time you see like fear of waste. Like I might need this someday and it's just like an old bit of twisted up metal or something. Some folks that I've seen are just like so overwhelmed with anxiety that they can't decide what to keep and what should go. And sometimes, you know, all these are mixed up as well. Like the fear of waste and I might need it someday gets mixed up with the decision paralysis. But anyway, I've gone totally off on this one. A commenter says, the Iranian yogurt is not the issue here, and says, I hope at some point in my life I find a way to seamlessly drop that into a conversation. Another commenter says, not the arsehole, so he can be a hoarder and still be neat. Tolerating a house smelling of rotten milk is not normal behavior. Perishable items are by their definition not collectibles. Either this is a troll or your boyfriend is a hoarder and has convinced you it's not a problem. Mike's Bike Shop says, not the arsehole. This isn't about the yogurt at all. Whether it came from Iran or the moon. From what you describe, your boyfriend does have hoarding tendencies. Filling a tiny apartment with several thousand yogurts to the point that you have to buy extra refrigerators and can't safely store your groceries is a big issue. It deprives you of the opportunity to have a safe and sanitary living environment. It's a wonder you didn't clean out the fridge for your food sooner. Your boyfriend's lack of insight to the unfair situation he's putting you in makes him an arsehole here. Help him get the help he needs. Mental health professionals can help address the hoarding tendencies and any additional underlying issues that may be at play. Good luck to you both. And also jumping into my head about this is the logistics and the money behind it all as well. Is he importing these yogurts? I mean, requires refrigerated transport, and which is going to be expensive. Holy moly, my mind goes all over the place, doesn't it? Anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in the spare crime everywhere. You're selling